certain conversations you probably will be talking about plugins, because everybody has an opinion about what is a suck plugin, what is a great plugin. This plugin is better than that plugin. You know, this event calendar plugin is better than that event calendar. It's very. So I'm going to preface everything I say here in the next few minutes with that as opinions. I'm not a lawyer.
Check the gun at the door.
Right. Exactly.
So
So plugins basically, once again, not to get too geeky on you, but I'm going to mention some fancy words. Plugins basically extend WordPress by using something called hooks. They hook into WordPress. And the two ways they hook in, generally speaking, are with actions, when something happens, or filters, show me a result or a set of results, a filter, a subset of results or something. Right? Whether it be a list of pages, or whether it be an action like on page save, or on page load, or on comment added, those sort of things. Right? Those are how plugins work. And your most basic plugins basically are loaded up when WordPress runs. WordPress invokes them and says, hey, WordPress, I'm doing this thing now. Is there any plugins? Very big, very simple. Hey, plugins, or hey, WordPress is doing something. Are there any plugins that need to do something here? The plugins go, yeah, I'm gonna get right here where this happens, and run this other code now. Do something else. And it goes, great, do that thing, I'll know when you're done. Okay, I'm done doing that thing, great, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna keep going. That's basically the foundation of how plugins work, right? Very simply. They can get super complex, which we'll talk about some really advanced things in a minute. But if you've installed WordPress and you're familiar with the kind of out-of-the-box stuff that comes in there, things like Kismet is a plugin. Right? And what Kismet does is it sits there in WordPress between somebody writing a comment and saving that comment, and does basically some math around it, some logic around it, and says this is spam or not. Once again, I think very simple for those of your programmers. I'm simplifying the complexity of that plugin to a very, very, very simple point. But basically that's what it does. Instead of WordPress just saying, taking that comment and posting it or saving it in your admin, it goes, wait a second, let's run some stuff on this. Yeah, this looks like spam, I'm gonna stick it up here in markets. That's what a Kismet does. It sits there, waits for that action to happen, and does some work. Plugins, once again, like themes we showed you earlier, when you go out here to WordPress.org, once again, a great place to get them. Recommend you stay here when you're starting out, only because all these plugins have some reviews. They have things like all-in-one SEO pack. That's really popular. You know, they have information about their compatibility. They have information about their change log. There's FAQs. Sometimes even someone has screenshots of what it will look like when it's installed and how you configure it. You can also search for all these plugins within WordPress itself, and go on the admin side and look for it. 99% of the time, I think there's going to be a plugin for what you're trying to do. The trouble I've had in the past when trying to find a plugin is that there's too many. Right? So on my personal website, I want to pull back some pictures that I uploaded to Flickr and display them on the page. There is like 80 million Flickr plugins out there for WordPress, which varying levels of options and varying levels of support. And there isn't, unfortunately, a silver bullet. The trick is educating yourself, just going out and reading about them and finding them. I also think some of the things like meetups are a great way to get people to get a list of good plugins and plugins to avoid. It's kind of what I want to say about plugins.
Well, but again, there's plugins, even if there's so many plugins. I mean, you can filter them based on how many users have downloaded.
Right.
You can see their popularity.
Yes. And actually, version 4.0 of WordPress has some new functionality coming into that pane when you're looking for plugins that allows you to do some more filtering and bubbles up more information like the user rating and categories and stuff like that. Exactly how you go about doing it. Looking at those sort of metrics and determining, okay, what's going on.
Because I remember from Drupal plugins, so
Yeah.
I mean that's what you won't see is some problem.
Yeah. And plugins can get really complex really fast. Some of the more advanced ones that I've used before are things like WooCommerce, right? So WooCommerce is an entire ecosystem inside of WordPress that allows you to add products and shipping and cost and quantity and upload images to the product page and basically create your own little shopping cart, right? It's a super sophisticated plugin. It extends WordPress often a full, we weird, crazy direction that WordPress wasn't out of the box. Another big plugin is that you might be familiar with, is one called Jetpack. And Jetpack is one of those ones where some people in the room will, beat me to death if I talk about it in positive light, but I like Jetpack. What Jetpack does is, so as you all know, WordPress.com is a hosted version of WordPress that automatically spent money and time developing as a way of generating revenue for themselves. They've enabled a lot of features and functionality with WordPress.com, and along the way they said, well, how do we make this available to folks who are doing WordPress.org, who are running the site on their own? And that's what Jetpack brings you. It brings you a lot of the functionality that you get from a WordPress.com blog or website, and brings it to your self-hosted website. Close here. So it's obviously a very popular one because the things that it gives you a lot of really cool functionality around comments, around tracking stats and monitoring, around embedding social media. I went on a huge list of things you can do. It does some great things with own embeds. So instead of having to do iframes to embed a YouTube video, it enhances the functionality around that with other services. So if you're using SoundCloud or Vimeo, you can just copy the URL, paste it in your text area, and it will render a video player. There's all sorts of crazy cool things on top of your self-hosted solution.
I like to say that this is like a lot of plugins inside one plugin.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's the thing too. You can install Jetpack and it has something like a 30 million options, and you can turn off and on the ones you want. You don't want the social sharing ones. You don't turn those on. You don't want the URL shortener. You don't want one of the really cool plugins that used to be a plugin that got included is one called After the Deadline. It's now part of Jetpack. And After the Deadline is great for folks like me who are not English majors and checking your grammar and your spelling for you before you hit publish. Yeah, right. So the After the Deadline is bundled in with the service that, once again, WordPress.com has part of the bundled services but now made available, and it's free to use for self-hosted sites.
But do these plugins work nicely with themes, like you said, WooCommerce, and
Yes.
you can do the products in the way, the color
Yes.
I want?
So once again,
the themes.
big plugins like WooCommerce and especially in Jetpack,
Yeah.
things like WP Super Cache is another one. These are big plugins that have been used on many sites that are very actively developed. Especially this one because it's automatic. It has a history of making sure they have backwards compatibility back to like version 1 or something like that. So a lot of these things will work fine with them. In some cases, your theme might even be what's the word we use? WooCommerce ready, where it has some kind of templates built in or some style sheets already applied for product pages or the checkout process or things like that. A little bit more
Or free from fall.
and to that point, you can very easily confuse the heck out of WordPress, like you mentioned. If I uploaded 3 different spell checker plugins and they all ran at the same time, I'm sure smoke will start coming out. But then, so you be careful as you do things. We'll go back to the environment and things like that. Give yourself time, poke around at things, test things out. Keep up to date with things I know it's a challenge to do, but it saves you trouble and headache down the road when you figure out things ahead of time. Have them as predictable as you can in the environment with plugins. So that's kind of my little spiel about plugins. Anybody have anything else to add or anything you want to? Two of my, if I can just really get this right, I have to say something really quick and I'll shut up. 2 of my favorite plugins, because I'm a big nerd. One is called Advanced Custom Fields, which allows me to do really cool things like I was doing there. That does require some knowledge of code and some comfort with code, but allows me to modify the back end. So when somebody's adding content to the site, I can create custom fields instead of just one big text box to put stuff into. I can create custom fields with drops, multi-select value, drop down, and all sorts of stuff, and make it easier for my clients to add content to their site than having to muck around HTML or shortcodes. The other one I like is a really easy one to install, and I like it, especially if you have a site that's more robust, that has many pages or updated frequently, or it's been around for a while. Is called, I haven't pronounced it wrong, it's called Relevancy? Is that it? It's not really, yeah, I'm gonna pull it up here. It's Relevansi. So default, the search on your site, which probably most people don't use, they probably go to Google, but having a nice, if you do have a site search, using relevancy,
It's word probably just relevancy and they spelled it funny.
I know, that's throwing me for a loop.
Are those on Bob's sheet?
I don't think.
No.
No,
They're not, okay.
no, I don't think they are. This is one of my, this is one of my favorite ones personally. Maybe if everyone wants to share some of their favorites too, I appreciate that. But this basically allows, it creates an index of your content and provides search results more like Google does with their rank and have some weight to them versus just whatever comes back and matches first.
I just want to throw out really quick that I think one of the best search features in the website is actually Google's custom search.
CSE says like.
But what sucks about that is you have to pay for it if you don't want the ads in there. So if you make a site for a client, and then it's also to show the ads in there unless you purchase it, which you can do. But it's really easy to overwrite the CSS that Google makes for it. So it's a simple hack to put in your site and just.
Well, discouraging from that, the funniest line print somewhere that says not to do.
There you go.
That's
Yeah, I told me it's, and I do the opposite on personal sites, not customer ones. I run CSE, but I use the ads hooked to my AdWords account, so I get the revenue for it.
There you
So,
go.
I mean,
Google bans
And I think
single
if,
web developers for lying.
I think if your website is for non-profit or not-for-profit, like 501c organization,
You get turned off.
You get turned off for free. So it's options there too. And CSE is a great search solution as well. Just use Google.
well, you can multi-site your own stuff too, so I can do a CSE for all my sites and do these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Could you put those two names in the meeting notes?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you'll find something.
Um,
Google search.
yeah, Google search.